everybody. How's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. So we're going to continue a series that I started a few days ago on this channel called Bad Relationship Advice. Today, I'm going to read yet another post from the same subreddit that I read the prior one from. Sometimes I agree with the subreddit, but a lot of the times there tends to be something that is in the post that it's very strange because it's just as toxic as can be. And sometimes they don't realize that what they said was as toxic as can be. Other times they do. It looks like in this instance, the original poster did recognize it, but it was enough of an issue that I think it's worthy of continued analysis. So this is a subreddit, again, that always shows up on the front page, even though I don't necessarily want it there or know why it does all the time when it's posted or less than 2,000 upvotes, but such is life. It says, I told my boyfriend the happiest demographic is unmarried, childless women. Do you know that the happiest demographic are unmarried, childless women who are around 40? I thought it was interesting, so I mentioned it to my boyfriend. Not confrontationally, just mixed in with other factoids of the day, like usual. He got unhappy with the fact and said it's not true. It might be for the Western world, but the rest of the planet lives differently and has different values. That some women find happiness in their children and husbands, and that it's also valid. I need to stop pushing my worldview on women I've never met with cultures that I've never experienced. I must admit that I do agree with him on that. I shouldn't put my blanket view on the entire planet. My boyfriend is from a third world country and grew up poor for the first 12 years over there. He also has a much older sister who never left, as she had a baby and their mother didn't approve. Her sister currently has multiple children with the same deadbeat father who doesn't want to provide help for his kids, and she is struggling. This is a major sore spot for my boyfriend, as he thinks he should have saved her despite being a child himself all those years back. So after, he responded that different cultures have different values. I said, oh, like your sister? The silent rage he had towards me that evening. I do regret mentioning it and have since apologized. It was a shitty retort from a shitty situation, but he does need to hear about it. But also, how are men this clueless? The fact that women in third world countries are forced into having marriages with children involved and having no way out is literally his business. Okay, so there's a couple of things to go over here. The first is, we honestly shouldn't even be discussing the fact here because there are several links saying that this may actually not be true. The fact that it was based on faulty data and the person that actually came up with that actually admitted that they misinterpreted that data and came out publicly to say that. So this. But let's say that that was actually true. Let's say that was actually a fact and not a fallacy. Let's just assume that it was 100% correct. There tend to be different ways that you can engage with your significant other or your partner. So let's just look at a couple of different ways that could have went. Behind door number one, you could say, okay, I understand what you're saying regarding people in other countries and having different value systems, but are there any scenarios you can imagine where someone in their 40s might actually be happier not having children or not having been married? Is this something, have you ever been around people where you think that could be the case? Or can you just entertain for the while being that while we may be in a happy relationship, there are others that may be happier on their own, like something like that. Or behind B, oh, like your sister? You see, one is attempting to bring that person into their world or just get them to realize something that they may be missing, something that they have a blind spot to in a gentle and nurturing way. And the other is just bitch slapping them so that they could win a fight and feel better and score a point. Oh, like your sister? Because you know exactly how that came out in that moment, and I'm just going to be an asshole here and make the assumption that the goal in that moment was not to get a point across, it was to dunk on the boyfriend and win. And what makes this crappy is that essentially you know enough about the person to know that this is a sore spot. So this is a guy that has a sister that he feels guilty about. Again, he says, as he thinks he should have saved her despite being a child. So I don't know what the age difference is exactly over here. So let's say that the sister was 22 and had the kid, and he was, let's say there's a 10-year difference. So he was 12. Obviously, he would have not been in a situation to really be able to do anything about it, to counsel her, to know how to deal with the situation. He wasn't even old enough to have a job or anything like that, where he could, really fend for himself. And this may be something that he needs to see a therapist for. He may feel a genuine sense of guilt that he wasn't able to counsel his sister or guide his sister or provide strength to his sister so that she may be able to find a higher quality man than the man that she met. And instead of try and be nurturing in the route to getting him to understand that a woman like, let's say, his sister might be happier if she wasn't in this situation. She chooses the route that is a direct stab. This is what I call a poison pill. Some people call it a poison seed. But when you put these poison pills in your relationship, you can't really get rid of them by saying that you're sorry. And one of the things that I suggest is that you think for a little bit. What's more important, winning and being right, or having a relationship that is not filled with resentment? Because again, Eli the computer guy has this saying. It applies to jobs, and he has an entire video on it that is really good. I'll just link it here when I can. I'll probably forget to put it in the description of the video because I suck at this. Right? And the video is essentially you can be 100% right and 100% fired. The idea is that it is very easy as an employee to be 100% correct when you are telling your boss, here's why we should do something, but with the way you're saying it, you will also be 100% fired because you're not considering where they're coming from. You're not considering their perspective. So everybody is worse off. You're worse off because you're fired, and the boss is worse off because the boss doesn't have, they're not going to know how to do the thing right. Here, you are going to be, the boyfriend is going to be worse off because the boyfriend feels like absolute trash and is reliving the trauma of what he felt like when he was 12, and he really wished that he could have helped his sister, but he could not because you're saying it in a manner, oh, like your sister? That's going to make him feel bad, that is demeaning, that is emasculating, that is shaming. And you're going to feel bad because instead of being with a man that loves you and cares about you and wants to protect you, is slowly building resentment towards you for two reasons. A, you using his past trauma that he shared with you, probably in confidence, probably because, probably from a... You cut the shit, Clinton. I already fed you. Shut your mouth, bro. I fed you already. Anyway, he shared this from a place of sensitivity, there's a word I'm looking for, and it's on the tip of my tongue and I can't figure it out. Not sensitivity. From a place of trust. So, you're taking something that he said, okay, here we go. You're taking something that he said in a place of vulnerability and trust, and you're now using it as a weapon to stab him so that you could get a +1, so that you could win a fight. And that resentment now, again, is going to manifest itself in your relationship. So not only does he feel crappy, but that resentment is going to fester and now cause you to have a crappier relationship. When you very easily could have said, well, I hear where you're coming from, but can you understand how there are maybe women that would be happier being by themselves rather than being in a committed relationship with a child if, let's say, they're with the wrong man or they're having issues with their family or anything like that? Because, you're probably right. There are a lot of women that like that, but there's also the other. Like, you could try to nurture someone towards seeing your worldview, or you could try to browbeat them and, railroad them or, debate bro them into it. And again, there's winning, but then there's, is it worth it? Is it worth it to win a fight and then lose a relationship? Is it that important to be right in that particular moment? Is being right so important that in your goal to be right with the shortest path and with the again 4 words instead of, let's say, 15 words, that you now have planted a poison seed in your relationship? Because getting rid of those weeds is not easy. You can apologize when you have stepped on somebody's toe. You can apologize if you wake up too early and you have an angry text from your boss, and your boyfriend asks hey, what would you like for breakfast? It's like, I don't want anything. You could, hey, I'm sorry, honey. I didn't mean that. I was frustrated I just didn't get a good sleep. There are times where an apology works. And then there are times where apologies, in my opinion, really don't work. And one thing I could say is once you've started planting those poison seeds in your relationship, apologies don't mean much anymore. There are certain things you say where you can apologize, but you put it out there. It's good luck reeling that back in. This is, I think, in my opinion, a great example of how you can be 100% right. And again, to be clear, that's actually stupid. In this case, it's not even 100% right because you only have to scroll down 9 comments to realize this is a fake fact. But this is one of those ways where you can be 100% right and also 100% alone. And the last thing that I think is worth considering here, let's hypothetically say that her fact was correct and that the man actually deserves it. Let's say that he deserves to be shivved a little. Let's say he deserved a punch at the gut, a kick in the dick, to be taken down a notch. If you are with somebody that is so bad as a human being that you feel that he is deserving of being taken down a notch by taking something that he shared in confidence when he was vulnerable and trusting you, and taking that trauma that he shared with you while he was vulnerable and then turning it into a shiv to stab him. If you actually believe that he earned that he deserves that, why are you with this man? Because the thing is, again, this is lose-lose in my opinion. Either behind door number one, you're wrong and you're being a horrible person towards this man, in which case, you're being a horrible person towards somebody and you're going to push them away and cause them to be resentful. Or behind door number two, you're in the right. Your facts are correct. This person really is that low quality of a man, in which case you're choosing to be with somebody who's incredibly low quality. Like, let's say the guy's a complete asshole. Let's say the guy's absolute, right down the line, complete piece of shit. Why are you in a relationship with him? If you think that somebody is clueless, why are you in a relationship with them? Why are you in a relationship with somebody that you choose to shame, that you choose to emasculate, that you choose to insult, and then talk about it publicly? Again, you shamed him for the sister thing. You emasculated him with that because, again, he would have liked to have stuck up for his sister, but he couldn't because he was young, and you making fun of him for it. And you're insulting him publicly by saying he's clueless. Why are you with somebody that you're willing to shame and insult publicly? It makes no sense. Let's say he's a piece of crap. Why are you doing this? It makes no sense to me. And the more that I read these posts, that front page Reddit, anytime it has to do with a relationship, the more I realize, I don't even know how often they realize how much these things are red flags within their own post. There's always something, 100% of the time when I read these threads, that front page Reddit about relationships, there's something in the post that is just such a giant red flag, it's hard for me to imagine that the post is actually real. Because it has to be made up for the person to not recognize how bad this is. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Have you ever injected a poison pill into your relationship or planted weeds and seeds of resentment and shame? How did you deal with it? Were you able to overcome it? Are you in a relationship now that, at one point was 90 to 100%, but as a result of you or your significant other planting these seeds, you're at around 70 or 80%, and you just know you're never going to get back to 90 or 100 as a result of those seeds being planted, and knowing that at one point in time, not only did they say that, but they meant to say it, and they knew what they were doing. I'm very curious to hear what you all think. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. This will be part 2 of Louis Rossman's horrible relationship advice. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.